Hey, I'm Jeff, Not Dead Yet Adventures. Is there a Chrissy K or Baby Mae out there for you in the Philippines? Is there a relationship waiting for you in your future in the Philippines? Do you have the courage to get off the couch and go seek out a relationship? This video has been kind of mulling in my head for, I don't know, 6 months. I figured now's as good a time as any to spit it out and see what you think. Chrissy K is Tim K's wife, obviously, and then Baby Mae is the old dog new channel. It's his wife. Pretty famous YouTubers, and they both found wives in the Philippines. Both very successful marriages. They appear online to be very happy and successful marriages. And the reason I mention that is I was in the Philippines a while ago, and I'm sitting at a bar, and this guy is like just would not shut up about Tim K. And I'm just like, let it go. Like, what are you even talking about, right? It's like, I didn't come to the Philippines to listen to some drunk dude talk about Tim K, right? It's like, leave me alone, right? So, and he wouldn't. So finally, I just said, what's your hang up with Tim K? He's like, well, Tim, made all these videos. Like, you can go to the Philippines and, there's girls everywhere. You find one, you get married to this, you 20-year-old girl and live by the beach and it's beautiful and everything. And it's like, and I can't find a woman to save my life. Well, we're sitting in a bar in Angeles City. You're not going to find a quality, you might, right? But chances are, I'm going to talk a lot in generalities here, right? Chances are you're not going to find a quality, life partner, girlfriend, wife, whatever, in a bar in Angeles City. That's just not a good place to look. And so I'm sitting there listening to this guy go on and on and on. And I'm like, well, maybe start by brushing your teeth. Maybe start by taking a shower more than once a week. Maybe start by, getting some new clothes. Maybe start by, doing this and doing that. Maybe take care of yourself. Maybe find something that makes you happy. Maybe find something that, and I didn't articulate much of this. I did a little bit, but I'm like, you're not going to find a woman sitting at this bar. And my perception, I'm not successful in this. I haven't been seeking a relationship, but I have watched others do this and been very successful. And it happened a lot quicker than I think they would have anticipated. But, finding a relationship it's not like going to the grocery store, right? You got to find, it's just not, right? And so I always look at it, why would that person want to be with me? So like right now in my lifestyle, I can't imagine a woman I would want to be with who wants to be with me. Some nights I'm sleeping in a bus station or a train station, or, I'm sleeping in a capsule in Japan, or, other nights I'm in a nice hotel, right? Other nights I'm doing this, right? But my life is pretty chaotic, and I can't imagine somebody, just jumping out of their current life, packing a bag and coming with me. It's just not a realistic expectation. Let me say that again, a realistic expectation. So when you go to the Philippines, if you're seeking a wife or a girlfriend, a long-term girlfriend, my impression, my, observations are, have some realistic expectations about, reality. Were you successful at relationships in the past? Are you willing to do the hard work of a relationship? Are you willing to, do the hard work of finding a quality person to be in a relationship with? You have to be active about these things. You can't just let life bring shit to you, because it usually doesn't work. Now, my advice would be, or my, plan would be, go to the Philippines and just start living your life. Whatever else your life is, whatever else you want your life to be, just start living it. And when you're happy and you're adjusted and you're content, then go look for a woman, right? Meet meet as many women as you can. Go out and actively meet as many women as you can, and then have your criteria, set your criteria, and be proactive about it and search out somebody with the same goals, the same dreams, the same this and that, and make sure that you're a compatible mate, and then you have a chance of succeeding, right? If you just meet the first person and you don't really talk about all those things honestly and openly, and you have the long discussions to make sure you're not getting the yes, 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 right? You need to have that long discussion. I forgot where I was, but I was in one country, and you ask a question and the first response is to tell you what they think you want to hear. The second response is like something else, and usually about the fourth or fifth time you ask the same question in a different way, you start getting the truth of the matter, and that's an important process to go through with a prospective, long-term girlfriend or wife. The other thing I'll say is, if you go to Valuetainment, it's a YouTube channel. PBD podcast, Patrick Bet David, a long time ago, he did this video on how to find a wife, and he talks about a book and he breaks down the whole process. It's a really great read, great listen to. So it's on Valuetainment, and just go to the search bar and search marriage or something, and it will pop up. And there's a book that he used, and he talks about quite a bit. And in that book, there's a bunch of questions you discuss. And those questions, I don't know if they're science-based or whatever, but has a high degree of success in matching with people together for long periods of time. A lot higher success than a bottle of Red Horse or Kalafu, right? So you go to the Philippines, you get settled, you get relaxed, you get happy. The other thing to remember is, to be successful in life, my opinion is, after doing a ton of research on things like depression, and I've spent hours with men specifically asking them about their retirement plans, about their what's your daily life like, and both people retired long time, retired recently, and then people getting ready to retire. I've asked this question for 4 years now, very actively. What's your daily routine like? What's your, tell me about your average week, your normal week. Because we all have the, fabulous weeks where we go to Prague for the weekend or whatever, right? But what's your daily like? What's your daily routine? What's the plan for you the rest of your life for your daily routine? And that's always fascinated me, because I struggled to formulate that plan. And in doing a lot of research about depression and longevity and things like that, even the gentleman I was talking to a little bit ago, I asked him, what, very intelligent guy, said he's a professor. But, I asked him, what are your 3 tips to live longer? The first thing he said is, never sit down. And so I talked to a lot of people about that. How do I live longer? How do I live happier, right? That's the whole point of this. And finding a woman, I think, is, a very important part of that, because the statistics say it, right? Lonely people die sooner. People that sit a lot die sooner. There's all these things, right? And you just start looking at the list of things that people, these live longer, these die sooner. And you start going, okay, well, I want to be in this category, or I want to be in this category, and that's a personal choice. You make it yourself. But finding somebody to live with the rest of your life increases your life expectancy. But the 3 things I really keyed in on for men, and it's different for women, but for men to really avoid depression, is you need to have a current sense of pride. You can't rely on, I was in the Marine Corps for 2 years. You can be proud about that, but you need something that you do currently that develops that sense of pride. You need a purpose, you need a reason for living, and you need a tribe. You need a pack. You need men. you can talk with. And there was just a current study somebody was talking about in a YouTube lecture I was listening to. Twice a week, men need to, the most healthy men meet with their male friends twice a week, whether it's to play sports or to, play poker or whatever. But twice a week, male companionship. I don't know what this study was, but that's what this lecture was saying. Twice a week, male companionship is the most beneficial, I guess, or whatever. Those people are the happiest or the most stable or whatever. I don't know. But those three things, you need a pack, you need a group of men going the same direction in life, the same morals, the same values, the same ethics that you can associate with. And they should be part of your 5 voices in your head. And then you need a sense of purpose. You need a reason to get up every day and not just like football's on, right? You need an actual sense of purpose, a sense, a reason to live. And there's things about that reason to live. If you study more of it, it's really interesting, the whole drive to live. And just real quick, I'll tangent here just for a split second. There's a part of your brain that grows when you do things you don't like that are hard. So every day, do something you don't like that is hard, and and it grows this part of your brain. And that part of brain, the larger that part of your brain is, the longer you live. Message me if you want more details on that. I'll show you where to get the information. So you need a pack. You need a sense of purpose, a reason to live, and then you need some pride. And men develop pride by doing things, by accomplishing things. It can be making a frittata. It can be, washing the windows. There's something about doing something with your hands or sitting at a computer creating something. But when you create something, fix something, do something, it generates pride deep inside you, self-pride. And what a lot of these, I'm not talking the old psychologists who want you to sit there and talk about your feelings every day until you finally just punch out and take a dirt nap. But the new, the way of thinking I like better now with these psychologists and crazy things about mental health, this new era of mental health. What I've deduced is, what I've learned, what I've heard many times is when you do something, when you create something, or when you do anything that develops a sense of pride, it is like the best antidote for depression, and also makes you a little happier, makes you a little this, a little that, right? And it creates that healthy lifestyle. So the whole idea is to, seek fulfillment, not satisfaction. Seek, fulfillment, seek, that inner peace or whatever. I don't want to get into mumbo jumbo-y here, but those 3 things, right? A pack, a sense of purpose, and develop pride every day. And it can be stupid shit, right? It's how you frame it in your head. It's like, I did this today. I did it. And when you can look at something and say, yes, I did that. I made my wife food. I did this. I got that done. That it's an antidote for a lot of negative attitude and behavior. And a lot of these people, a lot of these negative, people in life, they don't have that sense of pride. They're just kind of coasting through life, right? And even, think about it, even if you go golfing and you try to do better every day, that can help you develop, that can be one of those things that builds that sense of pride. Building widgets, it doesn't have to be something crazy or extreme. It just has to be something you do and you take pride in and you're happy with. And, but a physical action seems to be more productive and sustainable than, non-physical action. So get up and do something. That's all that means, is get up and do something. And just like, when you're done, step back, look at it and say, yeah, I did that. You know? When you're done with your 18 holes, go, yeah, I did okay today. You know? And it's so funny to me. But when you get those three things in balance, right, finding a woman gets a lot easier. I can tell you, like I said, I haven't been looking for women, but I'm shocked at how many women have gravitated towards me in different environments. And it's, you know, I'm not a good looking guy, you know, I'm not rich, I don't have nice clothes. And the only thing I can point to that might be the reason is I'm a lot happier than I've ever been. And it's because I do something every day. I've got a sense of pride. I've got a sense of purpose. And, you know, I've got people I talk to keep me healthy, keep me on point. They call me on my bullshit, you know. And so if you're thinking about, you know, jumping ship and going to the Philippines to find a date, to date and find a girlfriend or a wife, or, you know, somebody to live with it for the rest of your life, start with those three basics. You know, get used to the climate, get used to this, get used to that. And I think you will find somebody. And, you know, remember that you have to put in the hard work, because yes, when you look online and you look at, you know, watch all these other YouTubers and you talk to people, I agree with that person that said most relationships end within 6 months. I totally agree with them. And I turn around and put it on the men, because the men didn't choose the right lady. The men probably didn't do the work because they're lazy. They didn't, you know, put any effort into the relationship, or this or that. You know, I put 99% of that on the men that go to the Philippines looking for relationships, and they're not doing anything different than they did in their past relationships that failed. You have to pay attention to the cultural differences. You have to pay attention to, you know, everything. And you have to take charge and responsibility for the relationship to succeed or fail. And I don't see a lot of men doing that. I see a lot of men, I don't see a lot of unsuccessful men doing that. I see a lot of unsuccessful men in this arena that I've talked to. They're just like, just going with the flow, right? Life just happens. No, life just happens, and it's not so good. Life is good when you put effort into it and it's deliberate. And, you know, I'm not saying don't be spontaneous, don't be, you know, whatever. I'm just saying, if you want a better omelet, you're going to make sure you buy the ingredients at the store before you go home and try and make it. So if you want a better relationship, you got to do the work. You got to put in the work before you start the relationship. And once you start the relationship, you got to do it with care and details, right? And you got to maintain it. And if you're just going to be a bitter, angry old man, you know, why would you do that to another human being? You know, just live by yourself. Don't bring anybody else down that path with you. But if you want to go seek a relationship, I just watched another video a couple days ago. They were talking about how the Philippines has the most loyal women of any nation on the planet. So there's that. And they weren't citing any hard studies. It was just like one of those, you know, magazine polls or some shit, right? But, you know, for finding an ease of a relationship, you know, I think the Philippines is one of the top places I've seen. I've found beautiful, amazing women everywhere, but, you know, I'm not out looking. I'm not out trying to start a relationship. So again, I'm not the expert. I just wanted to say, you know, there's a lot of people in the Philippines who have found their wife or girlfriend or, you know, partner, and they're far past that 6 months mark. So when people are telling you, if they're telling you, like, I've never cooked bacon like that before, I don't know, that's one thing, right? If they're telling you it's going to fail, Those are the people, just shove them out of your life. If they're telling you you're going to fail, I've got no time for you. If you're telling me I'm going to fail, I've got no time for you. If you're telling me that most people that do what I'm trying to do fail, or you don't see a path to success and want to, steel man me about something, right? That's a different attitude and a different tone and a different conversation. And those are the people I want in my life. I want the people in my life who will challenge my perceptions, challenge my goals, and make sure I'm ready to make the omelet, climb the hill, or start the relationship, right? It's the people who say, no, you can't cook bacon that way. No, you can't make an omelet. You suck. You know what? Get the hell out of here. It's the guy who says, hey, you're making an omelet, huh? So, last time it didn't work out so well. Maybe add a little bit of milk to the eggs. Just a tiny bit of milk. That's a useful tip, right? Hey, your last relationship last 3 ended in divorce. What are you going to do different this time? That's a fair, valid, and helpful question, right? Observation. And those are the people I want in my life. I don't know who you want in your life, but those are the people I want in my life. Is, people who aren't afraid to ask the hard questions. And I'm talking about that inner circle of 5, right? That tight pack of friends. And if you don't have that tight pack of friends, be very selective about who you pull in and have those conversations with, because you don't want to be pulling in one of those negative Nellies. Last thing I'll touch on is there's trying to remember the YouTube channel. There's a YouTube channel with this gal that talks, and she talks about this effect of people around you. And just having a low quality person, or they were talking about classrooms or work environment. So having a low performer sit near you, your performance goes down. Having a high performer sit near you, your performance goes up. So if you want to find a relationship and you want to make it work, I would seek out people, other couples, or people who have a good, healthy, stable relationship, and spend time with them, because they're doing it, they're productive people, right? And if you can, seek out and forge and sustain relationships with people like that, the chances of your marriage sustaining, or your relationship sustaining, goes up significantly. And it's the same thing with anything, right? If you want to be a fireman, you hang out with firemen. You want to be an astronaut, you hang out with astronauts. You want to be a crackhead, smoking pot and dope, living under a bush, you go hang out in the park, right? If you want to be a happy, successful, married man or in a relationship, you don't hang out with, people going to the bar every night. It's just the way it is. You can do that once a week or once a month or whatever, right? But more of your time should be spent with, successful people in a successful relationship, in a relationship that you want to be in. Right? Because there's a lot of relationships, and so you got to be careful with that too. But that's my rant. The whole Chrissy K and Baby Mae thing, it's a bit of a attention getter, but it's also, when you hear those guys in the Philippines who are just angry and bitter that they can't find their girlfriend, here's some hard truths for them. Go look in a fucking mirror. What do you have to offer? If it's your bank account, nobody cares. Nobody cares. There's a lot of broke men in the Philippines with amazing wives. And I'm not talking, stunning models. I'm talking amazing wives. And if you haven't met them, all the more reason to get on a plane and go to the Philippines. Have a great day. I'm getting ready to post this video, and I was reviewing it a few times. And the funny thing about that guy at the bar, He's probably still sitting at a bar somewhere, probably still hasn't got some new clothes, and he's probably still bitching about 10K 5 years later, 3 years later, whatever it is, right? And it just cracks me up, because whatever you think about Tim K, you know, he changed his life. He found a beautiful wife, has a beautiful son, and he changed his life, and he's living his dream the best he can. And that guy, that sour, angry guy, is probably still sour and angry if he's even vertical. You know, I hope he's vertical. I hope the best for him. But you know, the reality says is he's probably still that angry guy. So who do you want to be in the end? It's all up to you. Do you want to be the happy, you know, carefree traveler? Do you want to be the angry guy sitting at the bar bitching about some YouTuber? The choice is yours. Make it wisely.